MyMac Podcast 812, Virtually Attending.
MyMac Podcast 812. Yes, we're here. Is a conference that no one can physically attend still a conference? As it turns out, yes, it can be with the right planning. Guy, I've got no idea where you're going with that. I've got no idea who might be attending this particular show. It's all a blur to me because, as you know, I asked you if I could come on the show a bit later because I'd got friends who were turning into non-friends if they didn't leave my house.
Get out. Get out of my house.
No, we had a really good day today, actually. We had some friends around for lunch at 12 o'clock. And at 6:45, they were still here. And I'm thinking, oh, my word, Guy's expecting me to do a podcast tonight. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to make it or not. But I got here. But the problem is I don't have a pick. I don't have my snippets in order. They're all over the place. I've put nothing in for what I've been doing this week. Other than, that off Facebook, I've been sanding a floor.
You have been.
Yeah. On the hottest
Mr.
day
Sandy.
in the UK, I was sanding our floor. Yes, I am mad, folks, but there you go. I must be mad to do this with Guy every week.
Exactly.
Anyway, what's been happening in your world this week? Because I haven't been on MyMac that much.
MyMac. If people watch the video, and if they've watched the video that I do on occasion when Ecamm call recorder works out for me, and it doesn't always, then you will probably see that while my hair is still kind of long, all right, it's really long. I did get a trim. I did. Of course,
I don't want to ask what you had trimmed.
Well, wink, wink, nod your head.
Beard. Yeah, beard.
Yeah, actually, it was my neck, my beard, eyebrows, ear foliage. And they did, they did cut like just a little bit off, get rid of the split ends and all that. Cause I haven't had a haircut since like January.
Split ends. You're worried about split ends. What are you?
Well, it's like you deal with what you got,
Yeah. True.
Now,
true.
My wife and I were still planning our monster tour.
Mm-hmm.
Though the wife wants to keep it more local instead of going down and to like looking at the Mothman in West Virginia or the lizard creature in South Carolina. She's like, let's just stay here and more in Virginia. And I'm not so sure I'm all that pleased with that, but we'll figure that out. I'm still checking out Big Sur on my 2018 MacBook Air.
Okay.
And so far it's mostly positive, but there are a few apps that don't work.
Ooh.
And they are deal breakers for me to go to Big Sur.
My word. That's not good at all.
And I'm going to tell you what they are. No, I'm not. I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Are you keeping that as a teaser?
Well, not for this week. Not for this week. Okay. I have been in talks with the individual that I know whose company makes these applications.
I'm
trying to get on. I'm trying to. I thought you were about to say what it was. Don't say it. Okay.
No, I'm not.
And I'm trying to get on the beta for these applications.
Okay.
So,
well, I can't tell anybody what they are because you haven't told me, and they're not in the notes. So there you go.
Okay. Well, then, good to know. Good to know. Well, then, why don't you read the MyMac recent article?
Okay, Boo Boo's Picnic Basket review by Yogi Bear.
When you know what that means, of course. There's no mymac.com recent articles. All right, well, that's going to just kind of lead us right into Gaz's Snippets.
You beat me to it.
I know. How did I do that? Well, of course, you know what that means. This is what I deserve now.
Yes, you do. You do. Because that's
my head
job.
in shame.
I mean, I've got Farrago for a reason, and that's the only time I get to use it.
What, for Gaz's Snippets? Well, you're the one with all the Steve audio bits.
Are you getting it? No, I'm not.
See?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only one I have.
A lot of horsepower.
Yeah, they do. They do, Steve. I agree. Anyway.
And then there is one more that Steve had. I have one Steve snippet that that very few people have. Yeah. Okay.
Even I haven't got that one.
Yeah.
No.
And actually, before we go on, we have so far neglected to introduce the person that's going to be helping us with Gaz's snippets, who you'll be hearing more about in the second section of the show that we have totally not recorded already at all.
Well,
we have not because that's like in the future.
That would actually really blow this particular guy's mind because he loves Doctor Who.
I do.
And that's Mike Potter.
Yeah.
Hello,
Mike.
I'm going to play this one again.
Video. This is video.
It is video. Ooh, nice.
Oh, you see, he's got his Doctor Who lolly.
I do.
Yeah.
Is that ice cream or just regular lolly?
A Marks and Spencer Doctor Who.
Marks and Spencer. How have you got a Marks and Spencer's? Is it a chocolate Doctor Who lollipop?
It is. A very, very good friend of mine gave this to me.
That is
and
incredible.
I've held on.
That is so cool.
So anybody who hasn't got video, Mike is holding up a lollipop. What's going to drive everybody in the UK crazy is the fact that it's a Marks and Spencer's, which is a famous UK brand, high street shop, which maybe or maybe not open.
That's right.
At the moment.
And nobody else can get it, and this is what they have to say about it.
Anyway, Guy and Mike might interject on my very unplanned Gaz's snippets.
I was wondering if you were going to play that again.
I knew I'd get round if I left it long enough and introduced it again. I'd get there again. Okay, so what I do now, Mike, just in case you don't know, but I know that you listen to our show. I just go through news snippets which I've captured, which interest me. Anyway, okay. Apparently, Apple are being sued for refusing to help iTunes gift card scam victims.
Yeah.
Alleged images of 5.4-inch iPhone 12 display panels surface on Weibo. Now, the reason I popped this in was because I saw it repeated and repeated and repeated again. Obviously, the original picture
from the
came
same source.
From one source.
Right. Yeah.
Take it with a pinch of salt, folks.
Well, you know what most people say about that.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Adobe adds refined edge brush and rotate canvas tool to Photoshop for iPad. Now, the reason I popped this in is because it's not specifically Apple, but it's, Adobe are really making some very good tools for the iPad, making it more of a device, which means you don't need to buy a computer guide, maybe? I don't know.
What's a computer?
Mini computer.
Hated
That's
that
my
commercial.
favorite commercial, Guy.
The commercial was fine. It was the very end of it
Yes.
that just totally hacked me off. It ruined the whole effect for me.
And apparently, will you let me finish?
Yes.
Apparently, VMware VirtualBox tools have been impacted by a macOS Catalina memory leak. Don't know where that's going to go. I'm sure they'll fix it, but that kind of jumped up on the news. Now, prior to the Apple financial discussion, which happened on Friday.
So smooth.
When was it?
That was Friday.
I was suddenly at a blank as to what it was, and also
It's
when
that money thing.
It's that money thing, yeah. JP Morgan has upped Apple price target to $425, but this was before the financial chat.
Right.
Okay, Apple TV Plus wins Emmys for Ghostwriter and Peanuts in Space, which I have to say is one of Mike's favorites.
Mm-hmm.
What, Peanuts in Space or Ghost Rider?
No, Peanuts in Space. He was really.
Okay.
I've not watched it.
I haven't
think
seen
Mike
it. I haven't seen it yet.
I think Mike was looking forward to it. Did you watch any, Mike?
I did not watch it. I ran out of my free trial before I got a chance to watch
The
it.
truth be told. Okay,
The truth
how
be told, I was looking forward to it. I really was looking forward to it. But I did not watch
so now
it.
you've got to pay for 1 month and then watch it. Have you
Peanuts
got to
in
go?
space.
No, anyone
Oh.
on video.
Oh, he's
I
doing
think-
he's
I
doing the
think you
pointy
can
thing.
see- You
He's
can
doing the
see my
pointy thing.
Snoopy lunchbox up there.
Oh yeah.
That's my kindergarten lunchbox. It's Snoopy's doghouse.
Are those bowling trophies?
Can I
can't quite-
can I move on,
They
guy?
are.
Can
No,
They're
I want
bowling
to talk.
trophies.
I want to talk about the Oswald poster that's on his back wall.
Okay, go.
Yes.
That is so
Oswald.
cool.
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Apple Music on iOS 14 surpasses Spotify and becomes the ultimate music streaming service, according to people.
Apple.
No. New Apple TV series, The Oprah Conversation, is launching yesterday or the day before. Remember, I do get these snippets before, during the week. So,
Right.
and I haven't edited these, so they're kind of hitting me in the face. An analyst report says Apple are resilient in Q3 earnings call. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, earnings call.
With a
financial
future
thing.
focus on the 5G iPhone 12. Okay, accessibility has always been a core value at Apple from the start, says executive. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Hey, glad you could play our game. We'll see. We'll see you next time.
And then there was one, how to cancel Apple Music. Now, the reason I left that one in was because obviously it surpasses Spotify in being the ultimate music. Anyway, that just made me laugh. Bloomberg says that the new Apple services show slow growth in the first few quarters. That obviously would have been discussed more in the earnings call. You see, now it's in my brain. I gotta keep saying earnings call.
No, financial
Apparently,
thing.
Apple's
Money
online
thing.
store could be more expensive for UK customers in the future. Now, there's always been lots of complaints about the Apple online store, saying that it's the same price as the US store and the exchange rate's never been taken into account. Well, now it's going to be even more expensive. Live with it, folks, because you're going to have to. Apple patent suggests 2 iPads could be connected together for a notebook-style computing. Yeah, right. What they're doing is saving their backs there for any future patent.
Yeah. Why would anyone do that? I mean, I could see using an iPad with your computer as a second screen, but it's like, let's take 2 iPads and put them together like an Oreo cookie. Okay.
I wonder whether it might not be iPads and other iOS devices that they're thinking of there. Kosovo wants Apple to correct the country's borders on Apple Maps. This is really contentious,
Wait,
I think.
Didn't we go through this last year between Russia and
somewhere else? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's happening again. So I'm just going to leave that there. Apparently, Apple's shares growth will be limited in the short term. Say, guys' favorite people, analysts. No, not Wedbush.
Oh, or Gene Munster.
Or Gene Munster.
Yeah, I just throw it out now.
You do.
That's all I have.
Apparently, Apple are ordering 5 times more OLED screens from LG to diversify the iPhone supplies. Yeah, that's not really a surprise. Apple High Cross in Leicester reopens on Wednesday for the first time since March. All UK stores will be reopened. The reason I brought this one up was recently Leicester has gone into a complete shutdown. So why they were suddenly opening on Wednesday, I don't know. But they've recently gone out of shutdown. So maybe you can. I've got a feeling that store in particular at the moment is going to be fairly quiet, like many stores around the world. Phil Schiller says the App Store fostered competition ahead of the antitrust testimony. I can't spark properly. Did you get that?
Spark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, apparently Phil came out with a pre-defense on the antitrust testimony.
Yeah, I mean, they had Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, Ingrid Bergman from Microsoft. I can never remember the guy's name.
Ingrid Bergman? Wasn't she an actress?
Yeah. I can't. It's like suit. I'm sorry. I don't. I just can't remember the guy's name.
Okay.
The guy that's in charge at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And
Satya Nadella.
Yes.
Mandela.
What's his name from Facebook? Yeah. Zimmy Dalla. I don't know. I can't remember his name. And Zuck from Facebook. And the part that cracked me up. Now, I mean, it was a very serious moment. The part that cracked me up about the whole thing was every time somebody would ask these four guys a question, their immediate response was, well, that's a good question, and thank you for putting it in such that way. And I could just tell that there's, on the other side of a wall, a bank of lawyers that, they've got an earpiece not
holding up pieces of paper saying, say this.
Say this. A lot, and I'm sure they all had earpieces similar to what Mike is wearing that you'll find out about in the next segment that we haven't recorded yet. And then, but every single time they would say something like that. And finally, one of the committee members was like, okay, you guys really don't have to say that each and every single time we ask you a question. And I'm thinking, well, come on. It's like their go-to, they want to show. So, yeah.
I kind of heard it was, thank you.
Yeah.
Will you let me finish?
Yes,
What I heard was it was more a bit of a political game more than anything. There wasn't really any real tech stuff that came out of it. Let me move on. Apple TV Plus earns over a dozen Emmy nominations for the morning show, defending Jacob, and many more.
Peanuts in space.
Apple's field trip retail store program. No, that won. Apple's field trip. You see, you've completely thrown me now.
I'm sorry.
Retail store program eliminated as coronavirus outbreaks continue, and they will do for some time. Okay, now Apple TV Plus series The Morning Show is getting a season 2 rewrite to reflect the pandemic. Looking forward to watching that. Apple.
Well, because it was so great their first season.
Actually, that was the one show I watched. All of The Morning Show. Actually, I did watch the whole series. Would I watch series 2? Would I watch series 2? Steve, would I watch series 2?
No.
Anyway,
I'm so over the soap opera ways of all these TV shows now.
I agree.
It's like, tune in next week to see what happens with Bob and Joe. It's like, I don't care anymore. You don't end anything. You don't close off any plot points.
You see, I have this problem every week.
I get so excited.
I used my trial to watch Dickinson. I enjoyed Dickinson. I thought that was good.
I'd
heard that was good.
Enjoyed that. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
It was good.
I didn't watch it. Anyway, apparently Apple have sold out of standalone 5K Mac displays with no official solution. They might have an unofficial solution, but there's no official solution.
None that they're talking about.
I'm just going to drive through it now. Apple AirPods and Beats charging case technology targeted in a patent suit. A lawsuit leveled against Apple on Tuesday claims that the company's latest designs, including AirPods and Powerbeats Pro products, infringe on patents covering magnetic earbud cases. We shall see. Tim Cook argues Apple doesn't have a dominant market share in a prepared comments for antitrust hearing, which has obviously taken place. The Apple Central World opens on Friday last in Thailand. See, I would have had all this prepared. Apple was the fastest growing smartphone brand in China in second quarter, buoyed by strong iPhone SE sales. iPhone SE.
So a less expensive iPhone sells a lot of units.
Well, they were up 32%.
I'm stunned.
Over and above the 14% increase from Huawei. Apparently, there's a Mac OS 8 emulator available as a downloadable app.
Yes.
Just thought that was
Yes.
interesting, actually.
It is.
Why?
That's interesting. Kind of cool.
Why
I
is
want
it
to play. I
interesting?
want to play Crystal Quest again.
I played what was it? Duke
Prince
Nukem.
of Persia.
It came
Duke-
with
oh,
Duke
Duke
Nukem. And I was
Nukem.
sitting there playing Duke Nukem in it.
Wow, that would
Yeah.
almost tempt me to try it because I've tried Duke Nukem in emulation and it's awful. But if I can go into an OS 8 emulator to play Duke Nukem emulated, I'm sure it'll be much better.
Yeah, it was okay. It was very playable. It was very playable. About as playable
okay.
as Duke Nukem was originally.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. Apple Store app now offers iPhone comparisons. New for you, Tab. I thought that was hot news. I thought I'd keep that one in there. Apple does not keep the 30% commission on a refund. Apparently. It's just a statement. It's just a statement. I'm just making a statement, okay? Apple in 2011 actually considered collecting a 40% fee from some subscription apps. Well, I'm glad they didn't. As we all know, Tim Cook has testified in the US House antitrust hearing. Apple has said that all developers have been treated equally, yet documents show Amazon Prime Video pays half the usual App Store commission.
And yet some are more equal than others.
There's equal.
Almost sounds like something
then...
you read out of a book written in 1984.
Yeah, okay. Some Apple Watch Series 5 owners are seeing issues with inconsistent battery levels and random shutdowns. So if you've got a Apple Watch Series 5, folks, keep an eye on it. And if you've got a problem, guess what? Talk to Apple. Don't just
take it into your
moan
local Apple store. Oh,
wait, what?
What?
Now, we haven't reported on this, which we normally do, but obviously the Apple reported their results for the third quarter of 2020.
But they must have done awful considering everything that's going on.
Well, apparently they had 11.25 billion profit on a 59.7 billion revenue. And guess what? They've split their stock 4 for 1. Yeah. That means they're doing well, folks. That means they are really
let me
doing well.
interrupt here for just a second.
Go on.
If you had bought a single share of Apple stock in 1998, you would now have not 1 share, not 2 shares, not 4, not 8, not 56, but 216 shares of Apple stock for the price of 1 share at $12 in 1998.
And that's now worth $86,000.
Yeah, because they've had 3 2-for-1s, 1 7-for-1, and now a 4 4-for-1.
Boy,
but I don't keep track of any of this.
I wish Doctor Who was real, Mike.
Yeah, so do I.
Well, break out the lolly. Let's just climb into the lolly.
Most Apple employees because Mike, it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
There's a lot more chocolate on the inside than it appears from the outside.
Yeah. Most Apple employees in the US won't return to offices until early 2021. I think that's the same for a lot of people around the world.
Yep.
Okay, so Apple Services segment sees double-digit growth in Q3, and that's exactly what people said wasn't going to happen. Huzzah, analyst. Don't you just love them? Tim Cook.
They're always right.
Tim Cook touts the successful all-online WWDC 2020 with 22 million viewers. I tell you what, I think, and we might be talking about this later, that Macstock Virtual nearly had a similar sort of number.
Very
22 million?
similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they, to be fair, they only had about 21, but whatever. Million, that is, folks. I don't mean 21 people. I mean 21 million. Yeah. Okay, Apple confirms this year's iPhone 12 models will be a bit late. Really?
Well, color me stunned.
Shocker. Absolute shocker. And I'm sorry, I'm having to flip here through these because obviously I've put lots in and I haven't had time to go through and there's lots of repeating and I'm now gaining for time. Apple sees China earnings growth after pandemic. We kind of knew that. Canalys said Apple was the only company to register smartphone growth sales in Q2 of 2020. Apple launches a new Apple gift card for everything Apple. Do you know, Guy, I still need an Apple card over here in the UK. I don't want all of the discounts they give. I just want a physical card. I might just have to get a metal piece, a little piece of metal.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're actually very, very nice. But I have never actually used it in a store.
So apparently, Apple stock price, and that's why I gave you an 86,000 valuation. And a little while ago, Apple stock price officially crossed the $400 mark. JP Morgan has raised Apple share price to 460 after it smashed its expectations. This is wild, just wild. I keep thinking I should buy Apple shares, and it's always too late.
Well, obviously they're doomed.
They are doomed. Don't take any financial advice from either me or Guy.
You'd be okay with my advice. Put it all in Doctor Who chocolate lollies from Marks and Spencer.
Yeah, absolutely. Apple, on the back of all of this, has overtaken Saudi Aramco, the world's most valuable company, nearing a $2 trillion market cap. Wow. Apparently, Apple Store badges are back with Memoji. I don't know. Apple Store badges.
They make that with champagne and orange juice.
Oh, that's good. I was waiting for you to tell me all about that.
Yeah.
Now, Apple apparently has acquired a company called MobiWave, which is a startup that lets smartphones accept payments using NFC. I thought that their phone.
Yeah, I thought they already did that.
So that was a bit of a surprise to me. Sorry, I disappeared. I had to shut my window there because I've got all sort of moths coming into the window now because it's late here, folks. So I thought the phones already did that, but perhaps this is a better way of doing it. I don't know. It was 100 million.
You do it right through messages.
I'll tell you what they're buying, Guy. I know exactly what they're doing. It's 100 million, which is like, Tim got that. He got that out of his top pocket.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of technology and probably IP that they're buying in that process. That's what.
But you know what the most important part was the name. The name is just so cool. MobiWave.
MobiWave, absolutely. Apparently, Apple spent $7.4 million to lobby coronavirus education and other issues in the first half of 2020. Haven't read into that, so I'm not sure whether that's good, bad, indifferent, or whatever.
People are unhappy because it was part of a lobbying effort, but it's like,
ooh,
okay,
so
whatever.
That's what happens in the States, isn't it? Apple Assembly partners to take part in India's 6.6 billion PLI scheme. So Apple's assembly partners, Foxconn, Pegatron.
You know what they're going to be making there?
No. I was just reading it. Actually,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go on. No, go on. Tell me.
iPhone SEs.
No.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to say, there's one more thing. Apple sunsets Dark Sky on Android and Wear OS. This is literally off the press. This is off the press. Apple sunsets Dark Sky on Android and Wear OS. Dark Sky obviously was bought by Apple. We've kind of been expecting this. Dark Sky is the weather app, I believe. And a lot of people...
right. I was thinking it was like a game or something. It's like
no. It's the weather app, and a lot of people were a bit concerned about that, and they kind of thought that this might happen. Well, apparently,
because that was open source, wasn't it? Wasn't that open source?
No, I don't think so.
The API for it?
No. Don't think so.
Because there was a lot of
for Dark Sky.
Okay, but because I know that there was a lot of other companies that use their API for weather-related apps, and they were all concerned that they were going to lose access to it. So I guess they are. Okay.
Now that's the end of my snippets, but you know that I always throw another one in there occasionally, don't I? Just want to keep you interested. Something which interested me, made me laugh, made me think, This one, apparently an investor blew nearly 300, an investor, right? And you know what investors are, don't you? They're analysts, aren't they?
Yeah.
Investors, they do a lot of analytical work, so they should know what's coming. They should know where to put their money. And it's a bit risky, isn't it? It's like gambling. Well, this investor blew nearly 300,000 on Intel shares the day before the 7-nanometer disaster reveal.
Oh.
Guess what this person is doing? Suing them.
Really? They're going to sue Intel because they, as an investor, did something incredibly stupid.
Well, yeah, because they said the company should have told.
They did the next day.
I'm scratching my head. And that made me laugh. And that, my friends, is the end of Gaz's snippets.
And so, wow, that was, yeah, I guess we're almost done with this show. This is going to be super long.
No, we're not done with the show.
That's right. We have
a section.
We have a whole nother bit that we haven't recorded yet, which is coming up after we break away from this segment. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about, but don't.
Do you want me to take us out, or do you want to
Please,
take us out?
No, take us.
Okay.
Take us out. Get me to shut up.
Yeah. Stand by to stand by. And Guy and Gaz and possibly Mike, if he feels that he can stay, will be.
I'm still deciding.
He's still deciding, but get this. He'll be here. We'll
Guaranteed.
Be right.
And welcome back, everyone, to the MyMac.com podcast. As promised, we have a special guest with us today who spent last weekend running around like a chicken with his head cut off. It is Mr. Mike Potter from the For Mac Eyes Only podcast and creator of the Macstock Conference. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me. And I was virtually running around.
There was a lot of that going on.
Drive to the office, but other than that, I was virtually running around. Yeah.
Is that where you actually had everything set up? Was it in your office?
It was. Yeah. I didn't. I don't have the facilities here for it, and my internet was completely giving out anyway, even if I wanted to do it here. So yeah, I moved everything to the office, and I have a nice studio set up at the office, so that was the perfect place to do it.
Now, I was in that studio, I guess it was 3 years ago.
You were. In fact, Gaz was in it in 2015.
Yep.
Yeah, but you had a different desk then.
Well, I don't think so.
Well, I saw an overhead shot with all the stuff that you had set up.
Peanut-shaped.
Was that the same desk that you had back then?
It was, yeah. A friend of mine made that for me. And
that is a nice desk.
Incredibly versatile.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for people who don't know, the Macstock Conference and Expo has been going on since 2015, and it was always held at the McHenry Community College.
McHenry County Community College.
McHenry County Community College near Woodstock, Illinois.
Yeah.
And Gaz and I were together. Actually, it was the very first time I'd met Gaz in person.
Me too.
Was at Macstock. Yeah, and you've known him probably longer than
to meet him in person. I think he was avoiding me.
And finally,
I get that a lot. I get that a lot myself. And the auditorium that they have there is just fantastic. And we'd had 5 years of successful Macstock Conference and Expos, and everybody was loving it, and everybody was really looking forward to the one this year, which would have been the 6th year. And then something happened, a little something called COVID-19, and nobody could go anywhere, and nobody could do anything, and you ended up calling it relatively early.
About 3 months. Yeah, I was watching other conferences, other small conferences specifically, and the big ones too, if I'm being honest. And most were calling it around that 3-month mark. And so I was counting, almost literally counting each day, each week, and saying, okay, now how far away are we, and what's the likelihood that this could be held? And it was actually a week before I intended to call it, I called it. It was getting increasingly impractical to even consider hosting it. As I said back then, I made a promise to everyone to provide a safe, healthy, happy environment for them, and I couldn't do that.
Right. And not to mention, it was probably a good idea to get on top of it before people started making reservations and before people started sending in money, because that just adds a whole nother burden to you and to your staff in trying to, okay, well, we have to return money. We have to make sure that hotel reservations are done and transportation and all the rest. It's like, it's just, if you're going to call it before there's deep commitments, either financially or physically, by the people that want to attend. So it was a good idea.
Give people the time. And fortunately, the Macstock community is an incredibly warm and welcoming and understanding community. And fortunately, I've been working with organizations like McHenry County College and the Hampton Inn out of McHenry and the Holiday Inn out of Crystal Lake, who for 5 years now have been so great to work with. When I contacted Julie at the Hampton that Monday morning after I made the call, she said, I saw your email. I was expecting your call. No problem. Let's set the dates for next year. So they just love Macstock attendees at the Hampton. They absolutely love everybody. And the way folks act and carry themselves at Macstock is the same way they act and carry themselves at the hotel. And they appreciate that so much.
Right. So writing, throwing food, and
80 rooms for us every year. And it's,
but they have one exception in that commentary, don't they, Mike?
Guy?
Yeah.
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 The tall guy with the hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. I just have to go under a fake name every year. I have to make the reservation. No, I'm Psy Girl this year. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, they were really looking forward to welcoming Macstock this year because they just remodeled the entire hotel. And
you're talking about the Hampton Inn?
The Hampton Inn, yeah.
Oh.
It just remodeled, and she was so excited for Macstock attendees to get there and see the newly remodeled rooms and the newly remodeled conference rooms and all that stuff. And I said, well, how does 2021 sound for that?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Gaz.
You were obviously quite sad about having to do that, but it was a practical decision that you obviously had to take. When was there at that point a little glimmer of a virtual Macstock at that point in your head, Mike, or did you think, oh, it's just cancelled for this year, that's it, and we'll start planning for next year?
There was no glimmer of it at that time. In fact, Guy, you reached out to me, I think a day later, 2 days later, something like that, and said, hey, do you want to come on the show to talk about it? And I said, yeah, I'm not in the right frame of mind to talk about that right now. It was too soon. Yeah. But it was absolutely the right decision. There wasn't one person who disagreed with it. Attendees and volunteers alike, everybody said, that's absolutely the right decision. And as folks started to give their feedback, I knew more and more it was the right decision. But I didn't really have an idea for virtual yet. I mean, it's not something I'd ever done before. So, I mentioned this to someone else. I had, after 5 years, a certain, not comfort level, well, I guess comfort level, a certain comfort level with Macstock.
Yeah, well, you knew what you had to do to get ready for it. You'd done it so many times before. You had all the contacts and everything else.
I mean, a certain, I know what needs to take place and when it needs to take place, and things were already in motion for this year. So all that just kind of came to a crashing halt. And then as far as a virtual Macstock, I really didn't have a firm notion of doing it until probably about 3 to 4 weeks before we held it.
Well, where did
That's
the
when
idea come from?
I'm sorry?
Where did the idea actually come from?
Quite honestly, all the other conferences I was attending, all the other virtual conferences, and there was a particularly good one that I went to from WP Sessions, and the way they handled their virtual conference really resonated with me in terms of, I knew one of the speakers, so I reached out to him and I said, hey, how did they do this? How were they handling this behind the scenes? And in the meantime, I was doing the old, Command U on their website and looking at the technologies they were using to stream the video to my screen and stuff like that. So I did attend a lot of conferences to not only get good information, but to spy on them as well, if I'm being honest. I reached out to one of the speakers and I said, hey, Mike, how did they do this? And he said, well, they pre-recorded all the talks. I said, aha, that makes a lot of sense. So that at that point, it started to formulate in my head, how could I do this? Pre-record the talks, reach out to a small subset of the presenters for Macstock 2021, and use this as an opportunity to introduce them to people. I made a pointed effort to bring in folks who were new to Macstock, people who had submitted their talks but had never presented at Macstock, possibly even never attended Macstock before. So it was really a good opportunity to introduce these people to the attendees and to hopefully get them excited to come to Macstock 2021 next year.
Now, there was like a grand total of 6 or 7 presenters?
We had a total of 9 presenters.
9 presenters, okay.
But 8 presentations. 8
presentations, okay.
Yeah,
so by having them...
were a combined presentation. Right. Yeah.
But by having a limited number of presentations, you knew pretty much when it was going to start. You knew pretty much when it was going to stop, and you really, I'm guessing you really didn't want to do like a 2-day thing. That would have been way more than what you would have been capable of doing from really any location. Now you did have Dave Ginsburg helping out, which
yes,
he was a real trooper, and
he really was.
Really went the extra mile.
He really was, and I'll tell you, I was originally planning on a 2-day virtual Macstock.
That you would have gone crazy trying to do that.
Yeah, no, I reached out to friends, confidants, Macstock, friends of Macstock, if you will, and said, what do you think about this 1-day, 2-day? And they said, don't do 2 days. Don't do 2 days. It's way too much. Look at quite honestly, look at the difference. The difference is people sitting in front of their computer all day long, staring at the screen, versus being able to get up, move around, have lunch.
Right.
All the niceties that come with an in-person conference aren't there. You can simulate them, but they're just not there. And so you're asking a lot of people to sit there that long. So what I decided to do is, originally I was going to do 11 to 3 Saturday and 11 to 3 on Sunday. And I said, well, let's just do 11 to 4 on Saturday instead, and stick to Macstock rules, 20-minute presentations. That's it. Now, most of the presentations were actually longer than that because I didn't want to cut out anything that the folks had said as I was interviewing them. So I just kind of let them go. And with Brett and Elle, it actually was quite long. It was 37 minutes. And I figured, well, double the presenters, double the time. So I just kind of let them go. So we actually ended up going until about 4:30.
Yeah.
And then just like real Macstock, what happened afterward is we were hanging out in our virtual green room and we're chatting for like another hour afterward, just talking about whatever came to our minds, which is exactly what Macstock is like.
So, Mike, do you want to expand on that a little bit for the people at listening, thinking, okay, fine. So they've delivered some online presentations,
right? Pre-recorded.
Do you want, pre-recorded. That's not easy, right. But we're kind of used to that with the likes of YouTube, etc., etc. But this was slightly different. You decided to do something slightly different here, which, from all of the feedback that I've heard from the presenters, they loved.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. So how did I bring it all together is what you're asking.
I am.
What were the different components? Okay. So there's lots and lots of components out there that people are using for these types of things. There's Zoom and there's Google Meet and there's Microsoft Teams and there's all these different technologies. And I wanted simple. I wanted something that was easy for people to grab onto, easy for people to use, ask, have minimal requirements of people who wanted to take part. So from an attendee perspective, what I ended up doing is going with YouTube. Basically, what we were streaming live. I'm sorry?
Everybody has YouTube.
Everybody has YouTube. You need a browser. You don't even need an account to watch the video. You just need a browser. Open up YouTube and you're on your way. Now, if you want to participate in the chat room on the side of the live stream, you do need an account with Google, but that's a minimal requirement. A lot of people have a Gmail account. Even if it's a throwaway account, you can create one on the fly and have one up and running in 30 seconds. It doesn't take a whole lot, and you're not asking a whole lot of people to do that. Fake name, fake email address, and you're up and running. There's really not a lot of requirements for using YouTube for a live stream. So that's what I did for that. So attendees from the conference side of things attended via YouTube, and we just streamed directly to that from the office. And then I was able to pull the pre-recorded presentations and push them out to the live stream as well. So now what we really want to do.
Let me ask you real quick. Did you have the pre-recorded presentations?
Yeah.
Did you have them resident on your computer and you just kind of put them into the stream, or did you repurpose them from recordings you had on YouTube, or how did that work?
Oh, they weren't repurposed. We actually spent it was 2 weeks of recording prior to Virtual Macstock, getting all the speakers scheduled, recording their sessions, and then editing them where I could. That was a bit of a problem. So for most of the presenters, I use Skype. Skype and call recorder works perfectly.
Right.
Record each side. I can throw that into Final Cut, get it edited if I need to. In some cases, resync the audio. Audio tends to get out of sync with some calls. Most of them were good, but some of them but it's easy. It's a fraction of a second. You just move that audio over and you're back in sync again.
Right.
But you could do that with Skype and call recorder. 2 of the presenters wanted to use Zoom, and that just does not work all that great. It's a single recording. There is no split side of the conversation. There is a separate audio track, but it's very difficult to sync that up. So I wasn't super happy using Zoom for that. But for most of the presenters, we use Skype and call recorder, and that worked a treat.
Yep.
So we scheduled all those talks for the 2 weeks prior to Virtual Macstock. The last one was recorded actually 3 days, 2 days or 3 days prior. I can't remember if I did it Wednesday or Thursday. And then I did all the editing of the talks on Friday prior, as I want to do.
Yeah.
I just Mr. Procrastinator. So I did it all on Friday. Saved them to a flash
I'll tell you
drive.
tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They were recorded because of the cameras on our Macs. They were all recorded at 720, so very minimal trouble with file sizes and things like that. Dropped them onto a flash drive, spit them out of Final Cut, dropped them onto a flash drive, and then that actually gets plugged into my live streaming box. So I use a box from Sling called the Sling Studio. And I've been using it at Macstock the past couple of years. So if you've been at Macstock, you've seen it. It's a white box, sits on the desk alongside all the other stuff. And using that and these devices from Sling called Camera Links, I could connect the cameras up at Macstock, the actual in-person Macstock, to the Sling Studio and record from all the cameras simultaneously. But it also has this live streaming component. So for Virtual Macstock, we were using the Sling Studio to live stream. And then I had one of the camera links connected to this very MacBook Pro right here the HDMI out of this MacBook Pro was plugged into the camera link, then the camera link was feeding to the Sling Studio. So, excuse me, for anything that was going on this screen, I could switch to it with the Sling Studio software at any time. That was the speakers. That was the live Q&A with the speakers after every presentation was shown.
Right.
I was bringing the speakers into what became a virtual green room. It was only, I intended for it to be just me and the presenter and Dave answering questions from the chat room and go on, then they go away and then we go on to the next one. But what it turned into very organically, which is what I love about Macstock, is speakers just hung around. They just hung out in there.
Yeah.
So we were able to continue conversations while the pre-recorded stuff was going on, and then have the opportunity for a presenter who maybe answered questions earlier to answer another question that came up in that time since, or to give a little feedback on what the current presenter was answering, or what have you. So it's a very nice kind of organic feel to it, rather than that kind of one-to-one thing that I envisioned.
That was all kind of done on the fly then.
That
wasn't
all done
like really
fly.
planned. Because
Yeah,
I missed the very beginning, but when I did come in, right near the end of that person's presentation, I was watching the chat on the right side of the screen, and I was seeing questions come up, and I noticed that both you and Dave were grabbing those questions, and that once the presentation was over and that the speaker was there live, that you were kind of shooting those in so that the speaker themselves could answer it. And that was all on the fly. That wasn't planned at all.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
All on the fly, by the seat of our pants, as I was saying. But yeah, no, it was completely all on the fly. And Dave, like you said a few moments ago, was invaluable to all of that.
Yeah.
Because as my co-host, and we were properly socially distanced, we could have done it all in my office. There's room there to spread out there and be socially distanced in my office. But he was home, I was at the office, and we were all together using a service called Jitsi Meet, Jitsi, Jitsi Meet, which I absolutely have fallen in love with. And that's what this WP Sessions has used as well, was Jitsi Meet. And some of the things I love about it is that there's no time limits. So there's none of these artificial constraints like Zoom has, unless you pay for it. It's completely free. There's no accounts needed, no sign up needed. You can create a meeting space, and there's no special software needed. If you want to do it on iOS, you can download the Jitsi Meet app for iOS, but otherwise it just needs a browser. It needs a browser and permission to use the microphone and camera, and you're in that meeting.
Is that using NDI as kind of a back technology?
Sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. I don't know.
All right. Sorry.
Now, they do have a self-hosted version of it. You can actually download their software. It's free open source software. So you can download their software and run it on your own server if you want to. I just decided to take advantage of their free service, which is meet.jitsi.com. Oh, no, I'm sorry, meet.jit.c. That's what it is. And it worked a treat. The only thing that I really don't care for with it is that you can't schedule a room and preset a password on it. So the room was never really password protected. On the first person who joins it is the administrator, if you will. So whoever joins it first kind of can take over administrative duties of the room and set the password. It seemed like too much work, especially considering it was only intended for the presenters to be in there and only they knew the link. So it was this kind of unique, kind of long string of weird characters that I came up with that only they knew, so they could join the meeting. And of course, we had no problem with anyone trying to
break in,
Jitsi Meet bomb it. We didn't have that problem. So it worked fantastically, and that was on this MacBook Pro, which was then feeding to the Sling via the camera link. So Dave and I were in there the whole time. We started the day, the Virtual Macstock day, and we ended it. So it was pretty cool.
Now you had one other room set up.
We did. That was cool, wasn't it?
So just before
was.
we get on to that room, because that was a really cool room, and I think we'll spend a long time on it. Was there anything else about that process that really was surprised you, Mike, about the interaction with the presenters and delivering it, or any questions that come through, or anything that about the process up to that point that you thought, wow, I wasn't expecting that, or this is flown through far too easy. Something's got to go wrong somewhere. Or was it just all, as hopefully this is going to work, but was there anything that jumped out that you thought, no, that's something which I wasn't expecting, other than the way that the presenters stayed, which you mentioned, which was really quite interesting.
I didn't expect that, and I so very much want that to happen again in the future, because it was just cool. Because while the way the Sling Studio works is, while I was pushing the pre-recorded video out, it automatically mutes all the other channels. So you can't hear us talking in the background, but we could continue our conversation in Jitsi Meet. So we were having these wonderful conversations, just, like a hallway track.
Yeah.
Just, standing around having this, watching folks in the lounge, as well as watching the chat room. And, like you said, Guy, we were just kind of organically grabbing the questions, taking note of them. Dave was watching them. Every time I thought maybe a question got by, I said, "Oh, did you get? Oh, yep, I got it." Dave was on top of it. Like he was zeroed in on that, and really did a fantastic job with it.
He did.
He did, and he wore that co-host hat seriously, which is awesome. And I knew he would. He would. That's the thing. There's some folks you can ask, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'll help out," and then they don't pay attention to the questions, or they're not taking notes or things like that. But boy, I knew he was going to be on it, and he sure was. So what was the biggest surprise? The biggest surprise, and I'm going to be a little facetious here, but the biggest surprise was it worked. It worked. It all worked. Every year with Macstock, and now with Virtual Macstock, my brain, and maybe this is why it works every year, but my brain goes to what can go wrong. It's not, I'm not being fatalist about it or anything. I'm thinking, okay, so this is what's planned out. Now, with that being planned out, what can go wrong? And then trying to plan for that not hopeful eventuality, but for that eventuality should it come up. And so I think having a lot of the stuff in place to help prevent stuff from going wrong helped make it a success, which is
it helped prevent
good.
Things from going wrong.
Help things from going wrong.
Yeah, which
For
was
example,
kind of the point.
the internet at my office has been very wonky the past month or so. And a lot of it has to do with everyone working from home and, being online more, and all the extra streaming and all that kind of stuff. It's been wonky. It goes out fairly regularly for short bursts, but a little short burst of outage on internet when you're trying to live stream kills the stream. You're dead.
Yeah.
That's it. So what I actually did is I lined up 3 different internet connections, one for the live stream, one for the virtual green room,
right,
and then one for monitoring the YouTube chat and live stream. So I actually had 3 different connections going, and which one died? My office connection, and that's the one that the virtual green room was in. And I so thank Jay Miller for being patient and understanding, but it went out on him like 3 times when we were trying to bring him in for the Q&A. And finally I stabilized it, and we could bring him in and do it, and things went well. But that was the only thing that went wrong, and it felt like an eternity, but I think it was all of maybe a minute that he was out. But the live stream never died.
That can be a really long minute.
I can assure you, whenever refereeing, okay, I complete sidestep here, but when you're refereeing, occasionally we go to games and some key member of a club has died and they have a minute silence on the pitch. Yeah. Always do it, always respectful. And as the referee, I'm the one that measures the minute and blows the whistle at the start, blows the whistle at the end. And boy, can a minute seem a long time. Incredible.
It sure can.
Incredible. Anyway,
Especially
so
when you want-
getting to go on.
Yeah,
Especially when you don't want it to happen. Yes, yeah.
right.
So going back to Guy's question, Mike.
Yeah,
was there
I probably
anything-
didn't answer it, did I?
Well, no, because I stopped you from answering it, so that was my fault. So getting back onto Guy's question about any other meeting room that was created that you can talk about where people could gather.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I can't give these folks enough credit for the service they created called High Fidelity. Highfidelity.com. Now, I had no idea the service existed. Absolutely no idea. I was trying to figure out, how am I going to create a lounge-like area? How am I going to create a hallway track area for people who are attending this? Initially, we had the 100+ people who had registered for Macstock 2020. They all had access. And then I threw this out there with the free admission passes for folks who wanted to sign up just for Virtual Macstock. We were pushing 200 people. And then Allison had to go and mention it to her Nosilla castaways. And we got near 300 people.
Wow.
I think another 75 people signed up because of that. So we were near 300 people, and I'm trying to think, okay, now how am I going to create this casual, conversational, lounge-like atmosphere, which I really wanted to do. I just thought that was it's such an important component of Macstock that I wanted to make sure it happened in Virtual Macstock, some way or another. So I was pretty much resigned to signing up to pay for Zoom. Everybody's using it these days. Everybody knows how to use it. Yeah, there's some extra requirements for creating accounts or downloading software or what have you, but it's a thing and people understand it. So maybe that's what I do. And then Marina Eppelman,
Yes.
at Marina Eppelman on Twitter, said, just out of the blue, she sent me a direct message and said, hey, I came across this service at AltConf. It was really cool. Maybe you should consider it for Macstock. And I took a look at it. We jumped in a room together. We were wandering around, talking to each other, things like that. And I said, this is it. This perfectly simulates that experience. Now, that was just her and I testing it. So we actually set up an actual testing session the Saturday prior to Virtual Macstock. And I said, all right, Marina, I'm going to use this. I think this is super, super cool. But you're telling me about it means that you are now the high fidelity guru.
Your owner.
You are owner of this.
Yeah.
You are the one who's responsible
For better
making sure
or for
this
worse.
Poor Marina. So I said, if you're willing to do that, I would love to use the service, but we're a week away. I don't know enough about it you've used it before. I don't know enough about it. If you can kind of take the reins of this, that would be amazing. We'll use it. So she did. She said, can we set up, Dave and I were setting up the testing of the live stream and the audio and all that kind of stuff that Saturday prior. So she said, how about if we do a high fidelity test that day too? I said, absolutely fine. So she reached out to a bunch of people. We must have had 20+ people in the testing room wandering around, giving it a go. We even had Dr. Robert Carter in, who's blind, and we're trying to figure out how accessible is the service. And then because it's a beta service, I was providing all this feedback to them while we were going. Things that weren't working correctly. Allison and Robert were testing the voiceover features of it. Can you couldn't click the play button, for example. That get started play button could not be seen by voiceover. So there were these little things, and we're just providing feedback to High Fidelity, and they're super responsive, super accepting of it. I'll be honest, I forgot to ask Allison if they fixed it prior to Virtual Macstock, but these were all notes that they were absorbing and wanting to incorporate to make their service better and better and better. So I've been in communication with them, giving them feedback of what's going on. But the service itself, if we just focus on that, you drop in, you land on a map, you're a little round avatar, and it's like 3D audio.
Yeah, that was the coolest part
you could
one of the
like
really cool parts of it.
I could wander around your avatar, and your voice would travel from ear to ear, or be coming out of both, depending on which direction I was facing your avatar. And then, of course, as I walk further away from you, your voice gets quieter. As I walk closer, your voice gets louder. So you can.
Yeah, but not just quieter, Mike. As you got further away, it was somebody talking in the distance, so you couldn't quite always pick up what they were saying, which is just what like it is in real life.
Yeah.
Just like it is in real life. It's amazing. And you can literally go off and form little conversational groups.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite have time to create a fully custom map for the Macstock Virtual Lounge, but I did take one of their existing maps and modified it. So I added the Macstock logo in the grass, it looked like it was cut into the grass. I added the dog cow. I added OWC's logo, which I should mention. They reached out to me and said, hey, how can we make Virtual Macstock better this year? They've been a sponsor of Macstock every year for 5 years, and they said, how can we make it better?
Macsales.com for OWC. Well, make sure you check them out, because if you're a Mac user, that's the one company who you need to go to for all of your hardware and some software needs. And no, they are not a sponsor of the MyMac.com podcast.
And their sponsorship of Virtual Macstock was, and I'll say this, Jennifer. She's been to Macstock before. If you've been to Macstock in person, you've met Jennifer. Mm-hmm. She reached out and said, how about we offer this new Thunderbolt 3 mini dock, not even available on our website yet. It's going to be available next week. We want to make that the giveaway for Virtual Macstock. We're like, sold. That's awesome.
Yep.
So we created a page for them, put their little logo in the pool. I made it look like it was the tile in the bottom of the pool, and then I put a couple little Easter eggs in there for other people. Like I put the Mac trash can in one of the rooms, so, where you might normally find a trash can. Or I put the Happy Mac on the stage area, and next to it, I put this Easter egg in just for 2 visitors specifically. Bobby and Andy come to Macstock every year, and every year they pose next to the original Macstock Welcome to Macstock banner that I put in the hallway every year. Every year they pose by it, and I put that banner on the map so that they could pose next to it with their virtual avatars. So little things like that, a little appreciation for all the folks and the support they've given to Macstock all these years, and they're local too. So that was really, Actually, I told him, I emailed Bobby and I said, hey, I did this. And he's like, that is cool. So I don't know if he actually took the picture or not. We'll find out. But it was neat. And that people could kind of go off and form these little organic conversational groups. And then, as you said, Gaz, having that kind of oral
spatial awareness
recognition that there's other conversations going on, but you're not part of them. Yeah. If you tried really, really hard, you could kind of listen in on them, but really you're paying attention to the person who's talking to you right at that moment.
That's it.
And then the coolest thing was something that happens at Macstock every year, without fail. There's this long-haired guy who sets up his podcasting table at Macstock every year and just spends the day out there recording interviews, recording MyMac, doing all that stuff. And you were able to do that in this virtual space, which is so cool.
It was completely unplanned. I went into,
I gathered.
Yeah. I went into, I was watching one of the presentations, and I can't remember which one it was now off the top of my head, but I heard somebody mention the virtual lounge. And I was like, well, let's go check that out. And it was in between speakers. So I went in there, and it took me, 5 or 10 minutes to figure out, okay, well, how do I move around, and how do I do this, how do that? And once I kind of had that figured out, I was kind of like NASCARing it all the way around the map just to, check things out. Or in Gaz's case, F1ing it all the way around the map. And then I ran into Marina. And I was talking to her, and I was going, yeah, this is really great. This is really cool. And she was like, every single year you do your podcast from like the lunchroom. And I was like, yeah. And she says, can you do that here? And I was like, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. And she was like, well, that would be really cool. I challenge you to be able to not only have your voice and Gaz's voice coming into this room for everyone to hear, but to have the people in the room also be able to talk to you guys. And it was like, so, you know, all shout outs to Rogue Amoeba for Loopback and Audio Hijack Pro. And I went crazy for like the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I didn't record it because I couldn't at the time. But if you were anywhere near my avatar at the time that all this was going on, you would have heard some really, really choice words, because it was kind of like, well, this will work. What? It's not working. Go. and I did all these different things. And as it turned out, it did work. However,
it did really
for
well.
some reason, I don't know why, but Farrago ended up echoing afterwards as when I was listening back to it. And I didn't think about it until after the episode had gone out. It was like, well, you've got all those sound files. You could have just gone and re-recorded them without all the bad echo. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But yeah, it was a little bit too late at that point.
So what was really interesting about this was this was all around the time that we were about to do our normal MyMac podcast. And yeah. I come on to Guy and he says, just wait a minute. I'm thinking, what's up now? What's he doing now? What is Guy? He's got a new mic. He's got a new setup. Something's going to happen. And then he brings me in and I could hear people in the background. And I thought, is something going on? Have I got somebody on my
like,
line?
what the hell is that?
And then he explained to me what was going on. And obviously we were in the room and then we started it. We did the first section. We brought a few people in. We had a quick chat and that was great. Absolutely great. Yeah. What I found out afterwards, because I was speaking to Steve Sheridan, Alison's hubby, and he said he didn't know about this. And what he found really odd and really weird was he came up and saw Guy's avatar and he was talking to who he thought he was going to be talking to, what he thought was going to be Guy. And then all of a sudden, my voice was coming out of Guy's avatar because I wasn't in the virtual room. I was obviously talking to Guy, but Guy had fed our audio direct through his avatar into the virtual room. So that for just a split second got him a little bit, this is a bit weird. But I think
maybe they've been podcasting together for too long.
Too long, yes. Too long. But I think everybody loved that as well, and kudos to Marina for one finding that whole process, and then two,
I sent her a Woody.
You, yes, she got a Wooty.
Awesome.
Along with I made like 3 or 4 Wooties based on what was going on that day or last weekend, and I haven't made that many Wooties in a really, really long time. But
I heard all those you were giving away, and I'm like, oh man, as you said in the show, they are PDFs. So
yeah,
what did you say to the one person? You're like, well, if you want extra copies, you just run them off.
Yeah, he's like, well, can I get more than one? And it was like, yeah, you can make as many of them as you want. You know?
That's right.
It's not like the Woody police are going to come and find you afterwards or anything. You know, no, one Woody. That's all you're allowed to make. Then you're done.
Mark, did you spend any time in that room or much time, or were you not able to?
I did not that day, and I feel bad about that, but that's actually just like Macstock. I very seldom.
You can't be everywhere all the time.
Can't be everywhere all the time, and I very seldom get the opportunity to just kind of sit down and talk with someone. And invariably, when I do, what happens is I find out that I missed my opportunity to introduce the next speaker, or something like that happens because I lose track of time. So I try very hard not to do that at the in-person Macstock. So I thought probably would be wise not to do it at the virtual Macstock, because I would have missed something.
Have you considered possibly doing this again going into the winter as a way to kind of fundraise to help for the next Macstock, to try to get a little bit ahead as far as how much, because you put, besides time, this also costs you a lot of money to put out. And I'm not even talking about virtual, but the actual real Macstock, because you don't always know how many people are going to show up, whether there'll be enough people there to cover your expenses and all the rest of that. And possibly doing like a winter virtual Macstock could help you kind of get ahead of some of that.
Yeah, it could a little bit. If someone only wanted to attend Virtual Macstock, I was not charging for the tickets. Again, I took that from the WP sessions. There was no charge for me to attend it, and I got so much out of it. It really helped me plan Virtual Macstock. But you could, if you wanted to, purchase a lifetime access to the talks that they were presenting. So they were doing something very similar to what I ended up doing, and that is we're going to leave these talks out there for anyone who signed up for free. We're going to leave these out there for a week, and then they go away. If you want permanent access, then you can pay. I think they were charging $79, something like that, and we'll give you permanent access to these talks. And you know what? I said, sure, no problem, because I sensed what was involved in putting on this WP Sessions talk. So I did do that. And with Virtual Macstock, the way that works is for the folks who purchased a ticket to Macstock 2020, which was to be a 2-day event, if they didn't ask for a refund, and I did have, of all the people who registered, I had 2 people ask for a refund, and they were for very good reasons.
And that's like nothing, really.
Yeah, even if
compared to how many people had signed up.
Look, even if it was for a bad reason, I canceled on them essentially. So I get it. But only 2 people asked for a refund. But everybody else, their Macstock 2020 ticket automatically becomes a Macstock 2021 ticket.
Right.
And provided all this happens the way it's planned, Macstock 2021 is going to be 3 days instead of 2 days. So it's actually it's turning into a pretty good value for them to get the 3 days of Macstock in for the cost of 2. And not only for the cost of 2, but for the cost of the early bird ticket price. So it was really, it's a pretty good deal for them.
Can I just jump in there, Mike? Can I just jump in there?
Oh,
no,
sure.
folks, you can't buy a 2020 early bird ticket for Macstock to try and get the 3 days. That's gone. Right. Just letting people know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I mean,
there is a limit.
Officially the early bird sale on the Macstock 2020 tickets to get 2021 for 2020's prices, officially that ended July 26th. But I left it there, and I'm going to leave it there for anyone who you just informed of that. I'm going to leave it there probably through August 8th, which is when the virtual Macstock talks are going to come down.
Well, that's excellent, because this show will be out on the 9th.
There you go.
No, I'm
There
kidding.
you go. That's
I'm
perfect.
kidding.
That's perfect. That just fits with my timing perfectly. Dovetails with all my plans. But that's another way to get these talks kind of, permanently added to their digital pass. If you have a 2020 ticket, which is now a 2021 ticket, all these talks from Virtual Macstock are going to be added to the digital pass for 2021.
Cool.
And if we do likewise, if someone buys a standalone digital pass, they'll get these talks as well. That's not available right at the moment, but I've been thinking, I'm glad you asked that, because it's something that came up yesterday, and I've been thinking about possibly making it available sooner. Normally, I only make the digital pass available about a month before Macstock, in-person Macstock, but because there is now content available to people, I'm thinking maybe I'll just go ahead and make it available, and people can buy it. They'll get this Virtual Macstock content, and they'll get Macstock 2021 content when it's available, as well as, to get to your question in the most roundabout way I could possibly get to it. Yes, the smoothness of this first Virtual Macstock has kind of encouraged me to think about doing one in winter, and possibly using that kind of tick-tock cycle moving forward, where we do a Virtual Macstock in winter, in-person Macstock in summer, Virtual Macstock in winter. The virtual one being the teaser for the
The
in-person
one that's
one.
coming. Right.
So the virtual one will always feature folks who are going to be presenting at the next upcoming in-person one.
Cool.
And so all the presenters from this Virtual Macstock are actually already accepted for Macstock 2021. So every one of them is going to be giving the proper 20-minute talk with the 45-minute deeper dive on stage next year at Macstock 2021.
Very good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So you can find out more information about all of this by going to macstockconferenceandexpo.com. Isn't it also macstock2020.com? Are there any other URLs that people can go to?
Yeah. Yes. Well, those URLs.
I'd like to jump in there. Just type in Macstock and anything you like, and Mike will have it covered.
Well,
don't you worry.
Be careful, because there is something else called Macstock.
There is.
Yes, there's a music festival.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's
that's small fry. That's small fry. Don't worry.
I think it's in the UK actually.
It's still small
Is it?
fry.
I never could figure it out.
And
But if
anyway,
you type in Macstock Expo, it'll come up.
Macstock or Macstock Conference, it usually comes up. I admittedly do have Macstock 2020 all the way up through. Well, I won't say how far I have them registered, but quite a ways out. Quite a ways out, I have them registered. And when I had to postpone Macstock 2020, I never set it up to forward to the full URL.
Right, I'm going to jump in here. I've just gone on to Google in Chrome, which I don't use that much. I use it occasionally, but I keep it clean. It doesn't know anything about me, doesn't follow me. I've typed Macstock into Google bar, and the first hit is Macstock Conference and Expo.
Boom.
Excellent.
Boom,
Excellent.
shakalaka.
Boom. There you go.
Now there is
But
one below
that's
it
where
that
you can
says
find
something
out
about festivals. It just says
Yeah.
Macstock 5 cancelled, so we don't care about that.
Yeah, well, the hell with them. That's what I say. But you can find out all the information that you want to know about Macstock, not just this year's Macstock, but a lot of information about previous year's Macstocks as well, by just Googling Macstock Expo or going to macstockconferenceandexpo.com.
I have in my
thinking
grubby
back-
little hands, I have archives of every year's Macstock website. And one of these days, in my pipe dream is to get all of these out there and available so that people can actually go to them and see them. But right now they're just in my possession.
You could
They're like in
almost
the archives.
you could almost make that part of like some kind of virtual Macstock
Yeah.
that people could pay to access.
If only that were possible.
Yeah, but it's a dream. Somewhere in the future.
It's a dream, and I can see Mike's nodding his head in response to
Oh,
it.
is he?
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip. Right, you see what I did there? I think that was so
very
smooth,
good.
Guy.
And no one will ever realize that it was not pre-planned.
It's never
at all.
pre-planned, because
true.
what I'm amazed is you got to the little.
Oh, I already
snippets
had it
as
up.
well.
I already had it because
Yeah. You knew
last
You
week
knew.
and the week before I was like,
Yeah. Okay, so you may have noticed that when you open the camera app, there's a yellow box that's used for focusing on a subject. That yellow box moves around. This is obviously on your iOS device, mainly iPhones.
What? It's
that
not my
yellow-
laptop?
That yellow box moves around as you move your camera. But did you know that it could be locked in place? Yes, indeed. Push down on the yellow box until you see text at the top of the camera that says AE/AF lock, and that's where your focus point will stay. Take your picture,
Nice.
foreground, background. Quick tip on the Mac, if you use Chrome, which I use occasionally, as I've just mentioned, if you put your finger on your Magic Mouse, or possibly your pad as well, I'm not sure, but certainly on the Magic Mouse, if you actually put your finger on the mouse and then slide left and right, you will see that actually pages forward and pages back in your browsing history. I could see you were nodding your head then, Guy.
Well, I saw Mike nodding his head. Yeah, there you go.
That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's
Another smooth way to go.
Will you let me finish?
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
There we go. We got them all in there.
You got them all.
All right.
That's good.
I have a pick this week, and the way it was kind of strange because I was in Amazon and I was looking for something else, and this came up, and it was something I'd purchased before, and it was like, yeah, that's like really a cool product, and it is the DualX dual USB charger for home and your car by RapidX. It's like $14 to $15. At the very end of it, it has the plug-in that goes into what we used to call euphemistically your car's cigarette lighter. Now it's called a power port. And it gives you two 2.4 amp USB outlets, so you can plug in not just your iPhone, but things like your iPad. It's powerful enough to do that. And when you get home, you bring this inside. It's got a little two US prong thing that pops out. You plug that in, and now you got the same thing. You got two ports available for all your stuff inside your house as well. So that's my pick. That's from RapidX. It's like $14-15. It's a great little device. What about you, Mr. Gaz?
Well, I was struggling for a pick this time round because you heard in the first section about my my late coming to this show.
Yeah. That first section.
That first section was fabulous, wasn't it? Anyway, but my eldest daughter's partner has recently got an iPhone SE, and I know that Guy's got an iPhone SE and he loves it. And I'm thinking, actually, I don't know whether my next phone is going to be the next one that they put out there, because I'm in a position to be able to do that. We've had this conversation before.
Yep.
Or whether I should go for an iPhone SE, because it's looking too good not to buy at that sort of price. So there you go. That my pick is the iPhone SE. I'm hearing lots of good things about it. Everybody I talk to love it. What can I say? It's expensive as a pick, but if you've got the money,
it's a lot cheaper than an iPhone 11 or iPhone 11 Pro or the iPhone 12 when that comes up, and it's filled, Gaz, with iPhone goodness.
It is
totally filled with iPhone.
You tell me that every week.
I do tell you that. Well, almost every week when I think about it.
Yeah,
Mike, I know.
Yes.
You know, we kind of glossed over in the very beginning, and then it was kind of like, oh, well, we're not going to do picks this week, and then Mike was like, but I have a pick. It was like, oh, okay, well, now we have to do picks. So what is your pick, Mike?
I actually came prepared. I'm never prepared.
I know.
For these picks. And they say, what's your pick? And I go, this. I got this mouse from Apple. It's really cool.
It's this hair thingy that I've got right here.
Have you ever used Post-it notes? These are just, no. All right. So I actually came with a pick, and I'm wearing them right now. So you have to look past all the gray hair Gaz pointed out earlier. And
thanks, Gaz.
That's no problem.
These are, I even have visual aids. These are
what, glasses?
The M6 Pro in-ear monitors from a company called, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this. So it's either Me or it's MEE. I'm not really sure. MEE or Me. Me Professional.
And that's how you have to say it too.
Me Professional. Musicians in-ear monitors. Now these are not for music listening. These are for doing what we're doing right now. They're for monitoring audio. So they're relatively flat. You're not going to get mega bass out of them or anything like that. They're for doing what we're doing. And I watch a number of vloggers. Some folks know her still as Callie Lewis, Luria Petrucci. She was talking about these on her vlog. And what I liked about them is that she had the same pair I have, which is the clear ones. So they're completely clear, molded plastic, and they go around the back of your ear, and then you run it down, run down the back there.
Yeah, you can't even see it.
I've been using these kind of things, just regular old earbuds, and they stick out, and they're all over the place, and I love these because they're hidden. I needed something for Virtual Macstock. I ended up getting these, what I really like about them, and I can't show you because I won't be able to hear you anymore, but the cord is detachable. So I don't know if you can see that in the picture here. They show an example.
Yeah.
The little bit that goes in your ear, you can detach the cord from it, and it's a completely replaceable cable if something happens to your existing cable. And
You
it
don't see
comes
that
with two.
very often.
Not only does it come with the standard, audio cable, but it also comes with a headset cable here. So I can plug that in, and then I'll have the microphone and all that kind of stuff. Comes with this gorgeous case, just amazing case here. But okay, so it comes with a case. But
Yeah.
also, it comes with this incredible number of coverings for the, what do you call these things? The little ear bobby thingies that stick on the end of the. I'm so technical.
Ear bobbies. Ear bobbies. That's exactly what they're called.
These
Ear
things,
boxes.
comes with a whole bunch of those, and then it comes with these Comply isolation earphone tips. So they're like memory foam. So if I put this on, it would just kind of suck into your ear, and you wouldn't hear a darn thing with those plugged in, other than what's
And
coming
never
through
be
the
able to
earbuds.
remove them.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I wanted something that was hidden, sounded good, and fit my budget. And that's the most amazing thing about these is they're $41.
I know.
$41.
When I saw how much they were, I was kind of like, yeah. Oh, look at that! It's in Amazon, and it's if I just push this button right there, I could end up with a pair of them. Huh. Funny how that works.
They come in a number of different colors. I almost bought the red ones, but I wanted clear because I wanted them to not kind of stick out there. But yeah, for $41, I just couldn't pass them up. In fact, I think I'm going to buy a second pair, so I have one at my studio at the office and then one here, so I'm not transporting them back and forth. And then the only other thing that they offer that I don't have is because they disconnect and reconnect, they have a Bluetooth adapter. It's a cable that plugs into the earbuds and then connects via Bluetooth. And you have cat just walked in the room. And then you have a Bluetooth
That's why I closed the
headset.
door.
Yeah. So I know.
So,
Mike,
can I
cool.
jump in? Because those I used to use the Shure EC2s, and they look very similar to the Shure EC2s. And the fact that you can also plug them in directly to your audio, I think, is superb. Because one of the problems, and I was going to ask you this question because I can see that you haven't got them wired into your device. You're using the Bluetooth, I assume.
I am not.
You're not.
I have it running down my back.
Superb. Too.
Yeah.
And that's what I used to like about the EC2s as well, because they were so discreet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm already looking for them and seeing if I can get some on Amazon.
I hope I get some sort of credit for this from these folks. I think I've sold at least 3 or 4 pairs in the past week, but they really do the job, and that's what we want them to do, and they do it at a reasonable price. And that's what I like about them.
Cool.
Okay.
Great pick.
We have no audio feedback this week, Gaz, but I did want to say that because we've gotten no word from the government about our aliens on Skype proof from last week, that confirms that it was real, because otherwise we would have gotten a denial, which frankly would have been even better proof that aliens are real and that they use Skype.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we got the message out, to be honest with you. But
if everyone should go and listen to last week's show, and you will hear aliens on Skype. Actually, go back and listen to last week's show many times and download it each time.
And listen. Yeah.
And listen. Yeah. Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. All right. If you would like to help support my ridiculous microphone habit, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/MacParrot, coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or paypal.me/MacParrot. There we go. Mike, if people wanted to contact you and say, what the hell were you thinking when you decided to come on to the MyMac.com podcast, how would they do so?
every time I appear on the show, I get emails just that way.
Yeah, I'm not.
And-
we are not at all surprised.
Right now, I would say the best way to get in touch with me is probably via the Macstock website, macstockconferenceandexpo.com, Mike at macstockexpo.com, mac.conference.com. They all work. Or you can use the contact form on the mac.conferenceandexpo.com website. I'm also at Macstock Expo on Twitter. And that's of all the Twitter accounts I have, that's the one I monitor regularly. So if you want to get in touch with me, do it there.
What? No Facebook? What?
No. Do you have time for that conversation? No, I'm actually
No.
cutting down.
A lot of people just don't like Facebook, and I can't say that I blame them. It's become such a cesspool.
Yeah.
What I'm starting to find myself doing on Facebook, there are so many ideologues that just go on and on and on about the same old thing. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to unfriend you. I'm not going to block you, but I am going to mute you because I just don't want to hear it anymore. Yeah. I get enough of that in my everyday life. So yeah, I get that. I do get that.
Leaving
and of course, I muted Gaz a long time ago. So, you know.
Yeah, you might as well attach the message to a carrier pigeon and shoot it off into space, because the likelihood of my seeing it is just as great.
And then it would be intercepted by one of Barry's cats. That's how that works.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, Gaz, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do so?
Ever so easy, Guy. As every week, send a tweet. See, I've done it differently. This is going to completely throw you, isn't it? You can send a tweet to twitter.com/Gazmaz, G-A-Z.
Cars!
M-A-Z.
Cars.
Or you can send a tweet to both Guy and myself on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz. No, it's not Gazmaz. It's Guy and Gaz. G-U-Y.
Y.
A-N-D.
D.
G-A-Z.
Cars.
You can also send an email to gaz@mymac.com. That's G-A-Z.
Cars.
@mymac.com.
Yeah, you're totally throwing me off here.
I know, and that's good. You can also send
good.
an email to feedback, FWEDBACK. You don't have to do it now, Guy. You can stop.
No, I can't.
At MyMac, no, you can't stop, can you?
I can't.
At mymac.com.
I really can't.
Now, everybody, right? Are you ready for this?
His name was Guy. No fooling.
He's the guy.
Guy.
Guy?
Guy's the one. You remember Guy?
Pay no attention to that guy behind the
They
curtain.
never do.
Guy says,
Only a rat would shoot a guy in the back.
Guy was paid at 75 grand.
No, I
with the
was
guy?
not.
I like to go with Guy.
Yeah.
if you want,
An email from Guy.
how would they do it?
It is so easy. Wow, that gets longer each week. That would be Guy, G-U-I, at mymac.com. I am also found over there on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrot. Wait for it. I am Mac Parrot. There you go. And I'm also Vert Shark. That's it. Can't play more than that.
We
Mike,
can't play anymore.
I was
we
wondering.
we
how
got
he
in
was gonna do
trouble.
that one.
We got in trouble, or I got in trouble. One of our MyMac videos actually got blocked in several countries because we played like 10 seconds of the Jaws theme. And so now anytime I say Vert Shark, all he can do is play that bum, bum. That's it. And then we got to
play
stop.
this one as well.
Yeah,
I
then you got to
thought it was
stop.
30 seconds. I thought fair use was 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Well,
it is, Mike. It
yeah.
is. You can use up to, and if you talk over it, I mean, we used to go for about 20, 25 seconds and talk over it. But no, YouTube, I'm afraid, they've got their own rules of regulation.
I got dinged for it. And of course, there is also our Skype telephone number, which the aliens in outer space, which is like where aliens live, they know how to use this number. Mike knows how to use the number. Marcus knows how to use the number. And Greg from North Carolina knows how to use the number, but apparently nobody else does. That number is 1 or +1 outside of the United States. Area code 703-436-9501. That number, Gaz, again, is 1 or +1 outside of the United States. 703-436-9501. If you can't be bothered to dial a 1 or a +1, go right into your Skype application and just dial 703-436-9501. Yes. And I would like to say, it's so much fun when there's somebody new on the show because they can just sit there and you see the complete look of puzzlement on their face. Like, what is he saying? What is his problem? And there's so many, Mike. There are so many problems.
Yeah. The weird thing is, Guy, don't you see the puzzlement on my face every week?
Oh, no, I see. I'm used to that look because that's the same look you have for like the whole show. True. So, it's there. It's just there.
The puzzlement is, why am I here? Yeah.
The puzzlement is real. The puzzlement is real. So I would like to say, number one, thank you, Mike, for joining us today on the MyMac.com podcast. This is going to be a super, super long show. So everyone get ready, even though you're listening to this at the end.
I was just trying to work
of the show. All right. So thank you. Thank you all so very, very much for joining us today, for staying. This is not IMP. For staying with us here on the MyMac.com podcast. We really appreciate the fact that you have joined with us today, whether it's watching it or listening to it. So make sure that you download and listen or watch the MyMac.com podcast. We really do appreciate the fact that you do so. And Gaz, I think that we're good enough. Well, not much, but I think that we're good enough. And I think that we're smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, let's go with that. And that doggone it, woof, woof, woof. People like us.
La parte migliore di una conferenza virtuale è chi non deve indossare ambiti. End.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on home and go home.